I guess growing up as a little kid, you know, we grew up on a farm locally, so we were always around, you know, trucks, tractors, motorbikes, you know, trucks coming to the farm, dropping off, picking up stuff. So I was always fascinated by cars and trucks and tractors as a kid. So I guess I knew at a pretty early stage that this would be my career path, repairing some form of machinery. You have to have the passion for it, and I really enjoy, still to this day, you know, 25 years down the track, I still love, you know, when I do get the opportunity to work on the cars and see the finished product. And obviously now we've gone to that other level in the performance arena. I guess going back to the original question, what I like about it, making cars go fast and seeing the enjoyment on my face and the customer's face. I guess it was one of my older family members who was into cars and stuff like that, who took me to a first race meeting at Sandown, and I can't remember, it would have been late 70s, early 80s, something like that. And you know, watching my hero, I guess, an idol at the time, Peter Brock, running around and seeing these cars, you see on the road, and then back in those days the race cars were really similar to a road car. That, I guess, was one of my fondest memories, and really got the spark running in regards to being involved in the performance industry. And I knew then that I just didn't want to work on normal cars. I knew then I wanted to really work on cars that would look good, go fast and sound good. Back in the early days when I first started Autotechnique, we were sort of renowned for restoring Commodores, early model Brock Commodores. So, you know, I used to get a real buzz when someone would bring a car in and it was just, I guess, a mess. And then by the time you finished, it's this, you know, gleaming, good looking, good sounding, fast car, and the smile on the customer's face. And started the journey there on, you know, modifications and so on. And then a guy offered to buy it off me, and I thought, okay, no worries. So I moved that on and then purchased another VK Commodore, but it was a little bit of a different car. It was a Brock Commodore. So you know, that was, I guess, the start of the whole factory performance scene, like with HSV. That was what was available at the time. I'm pretty lucky, pretty young to be able to purchase one of those. So that was great, and that really got me started on this whole performance scene. Autotechnique was started in 1992, 93, thereabouts. And I shared a little factory in a suburb called Rowville with another guy, and we were doing a mixture of Brock Commodore restorations and Porsches. So it was a funny mix, but it worked quite well. So in a nutshell, we were just restoring cars, you know, to concourse quality, you know, from show cars to guys who wanted to race cars, every sort of facet of, you know, the performance side on those two models. And that worked great for many, many years. Then by chance meeting in about 2000, 2001, I met a guy who literally just walked in the door. He was doing some engineering 2 doors down and saw all the nice cars in the car park and just basically waltzed in and said, oh look, I've noticed you've got some really nice cars, can I have a look and see what you guys do? He had a real passion for cars as well. He's a country guy but living here in Melbourne, yada yada yada, and you know, it was a bit of a case of, you know, add water and stir, and we were just instant friends. And he was an IT guy. He was working for a big IT company at the time, but his passion was cars. Like, he just loved cars. One thing led to another. He said, oh, I see you've got a dyno here, which is a rolling road, so you can measure horsepower and emissions and what have you. He said, oh, I've just got one of these brand new Monaros. I wouldn't mind putting it on the dyno and see what power it makes, because I'm thinking about doing some modifications. And I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, no problems. And at that time, I pretty much just fitted the dyno, and I really hadn't even charged anyone for a job. I was like, oh wow, someone wants to pay me. So we put the car on, we did a power run, and he said, oh look, I'm thinking about putting, you know, an exhaust system on and some other bits and pieces. Am I able to bring the car back so then I can see the gains? I said, yeah, fantastic. But in the meantime, I'd started to do a little bit of research, because that engine that was in that car was the first generation of the LS1 engine. And it was, you could see that that was going to start to be a real groundbreaker in Australia, going from the old Holden 308, the LS was going to be the next big thing, and sure enough it was. And I didn't have the internet, so I actually went to the local library, and back in those days you could use the internet there, and did a little bit of research about what was happening in the US with these engines and what they were doing. And that engine had already been in the US for probably 2-3 years at that stage. So they really had a bunch of modifications that they were doing. But the one thing that stood out was a software program that you could actually plug into the PCM or ECU, extract the file out of the ECU and make a whole bunch of changes. And like in a nutshell, in layman's terms, just make the car go fast. And it was pretty easy with a few strokes of the keyboard. And Chris was an IT guy, and he knew about this, and he said, yeah, I've actually got that program. I wouldn't mind doing some tuning on the dyno and see if we can make some more power. And I'm like, oh, great. And he said, what do you think it'll cost me and stuff? I said, I didn't know what to charge him. I said, look, don't worry about it. Just come over on a Saturday and we'll have a play, because I'm interested in myself. He came over, we had a play, and sure enough, we made it, at that time we thought 1 million horsepower. Really easy, and I thought to myself, hey, this is pretty good. This is something I need to be involved. And it came back again and again, and we kept doing modifications and kept getting better and better and making the engine go faster and faster. And then, just talking about it, I said, hey, what about if we start tuning some cars, full time? And he said, look, I've got this great job, I can only do it part time. I said, I'm fine. So we started to do it every Tuesday afternoon or every Tuesday night. He would finish work in Collins Street, race down in his suit, get changed in the toilets, and and off we go. We would tune cars for the next 2 or 3 hours. Well, that started from 1 hour to 2 hours to 3 hours to then we were there till like 3 o'clock in the morning. And we started to get a bit of a name for ourselves to tuning these cars. And one thing led to another, and he said, look, I've met some guys over in the US. We're thinking about making our own software. And you got to remember, it was the early 2000s. I'm like, oh wow, Chris, really? What sort of treated pine have you been smoking? How are we going to do this? And he said, look, no, I know how to do the software. You tell me on the dyno what we need, where we're going, what power we're making, what adjustments you'd like to see being made, and what you want me to add to the software. So yeah, and then that's when the company HP Tuners was formed. So back in 2004, we launched VCM Suite, which is the mother company is HP Tuners, and VCM Suite is the product of their company. And that's how it all started, with Chris and I in that little factory in Rowville. And today we have in excess of 1,000 customers in Australia and New Zealand using our software. And from the software, hard parts were created, and what I mean by that is cold air intakes, camshafts, valve springs, all valve train componentry. Guys who were using our software would ask us, hey Mario, what camshaft do you think I should use, and what intake, and so on and so forth. So I thought, okay, well, this is great. So we started to develop our own products. Our flagship product at the moment is what we call the OTR, over the radiator, cold air intake. Probably 90% of the market use our over the radiator cold air intake for VE and VF Commodores. So it's quite a flagship product, or a hero product. And from that, we also have training courses that we conduct 3 times a year to train guys how to use the software, because as many guys buy the software, I'm amazed, as many guys get out of the game, as many guys come into the game. So that it's like a continual revolving door. So that's how VCM or VCM Performance started.